Well, hello and good evening, Cinema Satsang viewers. How are you doing? Today we have a very talented actor with us, Sanghmitra, and very versatile. And she was in Dahaad, currently streaming on Amazon Prime. Very successful series. Congratulations and for your wonderful performance and for the series.
Thank you, Kabir. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Cinema Satsang.
Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I've
Thanks.
watched your other conversations on Cinema Satsang and I think they're really interesting. So I'm looking forward to
Thank
this
you, thank
interview.
you. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Yes, yes. It is the participant actually who makes it interesting, with
There's a saying that no one is boring. You're just not asking the right questions. So I think you asked the right questions. That's why it's interesting.
let's
You
see,
know.
let's see. I hope so. Otherwise, you can share whatever you want. This is not limited to just question and answer. But
Yeah, sure.
firstly, congratulations and for this wonderful series and wonderful part you played. And it's
Thank you.
actually a pivotal part because मतलब वो पूरे series में एक it's tying the whole कड़ी जैसे टाई करते हैं ये कैरेक्टर जो विजय वर्मा का है बाकी सबको तो ही मतलब वो वन नाइट में ही साफ कर देता है बट आपके साथ वो पूरे सीरीज में ही इज टॉकिंग टू यू योर कैरेक्टर मरियम and you are almost like a friend and you are counseling him and he shares these things with you not directly but indirectly like wo hotel wale ko jo usne he had killed so he said somebody had died. I remember that. And then finally he settles down with you. So tell us about your role and your preparation for the role.
So, when Miriam, I think from what I believe, Karan, because Karan was casting for it, I think I was one of the last characters to be cast, right? And so Miriam was still being developed because I remember being called 3 times to test for it. Once she was supposed to be a Goan, but they're like, nah, we don't want her to be Goan. Then they said, can we make her Marathi? So the character was still developing. Initially, I think they just wanted her in Goa, but then as the script was also being written. So by the time I came, the character was not fully formed. So she was there. Her name was initially also her name was different. So then when we were reading, I remember we were sitting in this like very fancy hotel and there was like a big round table with all the actors and we were reading the character and they had already done some work with their accent, and with Miriam they're like, what should we do with her? Can you try Goan? Can you try Marathi? So there was a lot of confusion, but the good thing was that they were very sure that I was going to be Miriam. So because when a character is being developed and every other character is fully formed, it sort of unnerves you a little bit, right? Because you're like, so, am I not doing, will I be fired? Like, should I just magically, because anyways, a lot of directors, I feel like, assume, oh, you're an actor, do something, and they think we're magicians that we will just end up. So I think there was this extreme pressure to, I don't know what they want. What if the character changes and I don't get to be a part of the show? So there was a lot of, and there were such incredible actors around me that I was very excited for the fact that this was, after Bombay Begums, the second time that I was getting to be working with some of the actors that I deeply admire, right? Jayati ji, Vijay, Gulshan, Soham, these are like incredible contemporaries that are working at the moment. I remember Prashansa was there in the reading. Shruti was there in the reading. So it was just very exciting. Also, some people I had were not my friends, but acquaintances, plays that I had done with them. So common friends. So it was very exciting, but at the same time, I was quite nervous because I was like, they're not sure. So because they were not sure about Miriam, I thought they were not sure about me. So there was that, but I never showed it, but I had that going on within me. And then lockdown happened. And that was a little bit like, because as an actor, you constantly feel, next day bas unka hoga ki nahi, ye nahi chahiye, koi aur le lete hai, And I'm sure every other co-actor of mine on that show must have felt that. The ones at least that had not shot yet, because lockdown happened. a month after and my part had not been shot. So, but anyways, of course, we ended up shooting. Miriam, if I tell you what was that about Miriam that made me, because Miriam is very different from me as a person. Miriam is gullible, very, very naive person, as you can tell. I don't think I'm naive. I'm not naive. In fact, I tend to, intellectually think things. So I think the only entry point where I was like, which is the window through which I can enter the character of Miriam? And that was that she was an orphan. She was an orphan. That means, what does an orphan generally have in their core? This complete sense of abandonment, that the first people that were supposed to love them, their parents, right, gave them up, didn't choose them, right? So when she meets someone like Vijay or Richard, even she can't think that she can probably, like, he will love her because her parents didn't love her. So the concept of love is so broken in her being that all she is that she's such a kind person, and she doesn't even think too much of herself. She just gives, and that's the kind of person she was. So for me, that was the window, that she's an orphan and she has an extreme sense of abandonment, and she just can't believe that someone can love her. So and I do like, if you ask me, I don't think if Miriam was not an orphan and then she would have met someone online and fallen in love with her. I think she's also intelligent enough to know not to fall in love with someone online. But because love as a concept is so strange for her, that this guy, teacher, talks well, looks well, um, when we're in love, we get clouded about certain things. Like you look back and say, I saw that, I knew, but something just makes you do it. So I think in other circumstances, she wouldn't have fallen in love. But I think because she is an orphan, and just this fact that someone can be just friends with her and love her was probably what made her not look at the very reality that she's never met this person. So that's the beginning of Miriam, just me understanding what's happening.
Right.
And there was another very good point. So when I was looking through the series, I realized that the only person, so he has a guilty conscience, right? His guilty conscience only comes when he talks to Miriam. So I was basically the confession box that a Catholic goes through, right? So I was his safe space. And that to me was okay. So I am basically his safe space. And that was another very concrete thing about my character that I understood, that I am where he is pure. I am, and that's why you see, like, a lot of people have written back to me saying, there's this purity to Miriam. I think it's because of the pure space that they share, that he, even though directly can't, he basically, she's his confession box, and he comes and like sort of guilt conscience को process करता है अगर Miriam के साथ. So it just had to be something very pure. There couldn't be space for skepticism. That's why there was no skepticism. Even though in an ideal situation there would be a little bit of skepticism in a girl, I knew that this was a place where this was more like a holy pure space. And also because he was Richard, right? So for me, in my head, even though this was a secret that I had as a character, I did not share it with the director or anyone. I was like, I'm his confession box. I don't think I never told it to the directors, never told it to Vijay. It was just something that was in me, which I also do with my other characters. There's always a secret that I keep about my character that I don't tell anyone. And if it translates, it translates. If it doesn't, then it doesn't.
हाँ, वही मैंने नोटिस किया कि वो आपसे ही बात करता था, आपके साथ शेयर करता था चीजें, और ऐसी चीजें बताता था जो मतलब किसी को नहीं बता रहा है. तो
Yeah.
although he didn't change, but still that was his let out.
I think he didn't change, but he didn't kill her, right? There's always that question, why did he not kill her and chose to make a family with her? That if he wouldn't have been caught, तो वो मतलब जीवन भर साथ में रहने वाले थे ना. अगर वो पकड़ा नहीं जाता तो ये उसकी नई फैमिली होती.
Right.
तो आई थिंक इट्स बिकॉज वो कभी मरियम को नहीं मारना चाहता था मेरी
मतलब
ऑल्सो
it was not a random choice. It was because of something.
इट वाज मतलब वो उनके रीजन रिचर्ड का रीजन रहा होगा मुझे ऐसा लगता है मुझे अगर आप मुझसे पूछे क्या रीजन हो सकता है बिकॉज एज एन एक्टर मैं सोच
Yeah.
रही हूँ कि वो इसे क्यों नहीं मारता है इट्स बिकॉज आई थिंक उसको पता नहीं है ये लो कास्ट है या हाई कास्ट है वो ऑर्फन है तो उसका वो एक पॉइंटर हो सकता है कि इसको मैं इसको क्यों मारूं ये तो ये इसका पता ही नहीं है दलित है ये क्या है तो ये भी हो सकता है बिकॉज ऑर्फन वो हाई कास्ट भी हो सकती है वो हिंदू भी हो सकती है कुछ भी हो सकती है वो तो एक मिशनरी इंस्टीट्यूशन में वो बड़ी हुई है तो उसका नाम मरियम है
Hmm. And maybe more than that, I think the way he talks to you and he's comfortable with you, and finally, ultimately, he wants to lead a normal parallel life, which he had, but that is over now. So now
या
he wants someone else to have that parallel set of life where he is, a different world is there, and outside he does different things.
Yeah, I also feel that with his previous wife, I don't think he got to choose her. That was an arranged marriage, right? Could have been. I
Yeah,
don't know.
absolutely.
Because, same caste or same jagah, Pitaji ne dhoonda hoga. I think with her, he chose her. So, those little details, because I've lived the character, so I went into these little details, of
Yes,
choices.
yes, yes, yes.
So,
नहीं, आप क्या कहीं मैंने पढ़ा था कि you had thanked someone for getting you involved in the look of the character or something, involving you from earlier. ऐसा कहीं मैंने पढ़ा था आपका एक
The
comment.
costume HOD, the costume HOD, when we did, जब हमने पहला ट्रायल किया था, पूरा दिन लगा था विजय और मैं, एट टाइगर बेबी ऑफिस। और तब जब हम, क्योंकि मैं स्क्रिप्ट में बैठ चुकी थी और मैंने पूरा एटलीस्ट शुरुआती प्रेप शुरू कर दिया था, तो जब स्मृति स्मृति चौहान इनक्रेडिबल दिल्ली क्राइम का उन्होंने कॉस्ट्यूम किया, शी इज वेरी गुड एट व्हाट शी डज, डिटेल्स। तो जब हम कर रहे थे, तो उसने जब मुझे पोस्ट गोवा, पोस्ट मैरिज का जब कॉस्ट्यूम्स दिखाना शुरू किया, सो देन दे वर स्टिल लिटिल बिट सिमिलर इवन दो बिट गोवन टू द प्रीवियस मिरियम। तो मैंने उसको बोला कि दिस इज अ गर्ल जिसने प्रॉब्ली कभी फिजिकल इंटीमेसीज की हुई नहीं है, राइट? प्यार, फैमिली सेंस ऑफ होम कभी नहीं हुआ ना न बचपन में। अब फाइनली जाके वो होम बना रही है, they probably now getting sexually intimate as well, so her clothes will change because she'll start expressing through her body, so her neckline will go a little low, even if you see नई जो शादियां होती हैं उसमें शादी के बाद लड़की का कैसे हल्का सा चेंज आ जाता है, she wears more sleeveless, थोड़े ब्लाउजेस की नेकलाइन नीचे, बिकॉज अब वो वुमन है, now she doesn't have to hide from anyone, now she has a husband. सो आई सेड ये छोटी छोटी चीजें कर सकते हैं क्या कि उसका नेक लाइन थोड़ा सा, क्योंकि नाउ शी इज ना शी इज अ फुल वुमन, शी हैज अ हस्बैंड, शी इज फिजिकली इंटिमेट विद दिस पर्सन एंड शी इज मेकिंग हर होम, शी इज द लेडी. So she's like, oh, I really like the idea. So then we did the trial, but then when I was in Goa, she came with keeping those things in mind. और फिर आप देखोगे कि कपड़े भी different, थोड़ा सा change, attitude, character, personality change.
Hmm.
So that's why, yeah.
And one very interesting thing you shared, that there was a reading. All of you were reading together before the
Yeah,
series started rolling.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
because when I was talking to Shruti, she said that I didn't know, who's doing what, and but you all knew the entire series before you shot it, even. Like you read the full thing, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when because I may have come last, so maybe when she really started, they must have had readings before. I don't know. But when I came, I remember there was a reading with everyone. I remember Vijay most of the days wasn't there because he was shooting for something else. But Vikas was there, Reema was there, Ruchika was there, and the entire crew was there.
So you were reading your
Everyone was
part
there.
or the entire everyone's parts? Everyone was reading his or her part, or you were reading
You've
just
seen
your
Game
part?
of Thrones reading pictures? Have you seen the reading pictures of the Game of
No, no,
Thrones
no,
cast?
no,
If you
no.
ever Google it on
Unfortunately, not.
Instagram, So you'll see that there's like a big round table and everyone's name is kept and a script with pen, pencil, and like it. This was the first time I felt, okay, this is how it feels to work for a big production house and a production house that does things so well. Because when we had food, we had catering, and like you had the main directors sitting, and then each person was reading their part. And we had like name plate right in front of your character. You had your script stamped with your name on it, your character name on it, with a pencil and a notepad to make notes. Everyone had that, right? And then we would get lunch break, and then we take the lunch break, and it was incredible because we were laughing. You could see it was I mean, if COVID had not happened, we would have bonded quite well, because in the beginning, pre-COVID, it was incredible.
So how many days this whole session lasted?
I think a week.
A week.
With me. From when I remember. They may have met before that, I don't know.
As an aside, since we were talking about Kundan Shah before the interview, he also used to do this thing, the full reading of the everyone. All the actors were invited, and everybody read their own part. So everybody knew about the film and each one's motivation. So it was not a very secluded, isolated thing. It was a whole, camaraderie of actors, and that's really nice.
I mean, it's interesting because I did Out of Love, season 1, I remember no one met anyone. In fact, I met the director when I was giving my first take. And to me, as an actor, that is so unnerving, because just like each actor is different, each director is different.
Absolutely.
Right? So that to me was, and with Bombay Begums also, I only met the characters that I was going to play with. Independent films, when I do, of course, the director sitting there and you're reading. But this level of professionalism, you could see why Excel is Excel, Tiger Baby. And Dahaad was the first Tiger Baby project, even though the second one to come out, but the first one to get the name Tiger Baby.
Right. What is this Bombay Begum you're saying? I have no idea.
Bombay Begums is a Netflix show that had Amrita Subhash, Pooja Bhatt, and was directed by Alankrita, and had Plabita. It came like 2022, 21, I think.
Yes.
Just before COVID. Yeah.
How was that experience?
I love working with women. I just love working with women. I mean, it's also interesting because, when you, and I really like the prep aspect of acting, like prep, because it's so psychological. It's like you're now, in a way, I become a storyteller from what I get from the script to what I bring to the character. And when you discuss things with women, they just get it, right? Because they relate to it. Of course, male directors also get it, but you have to explain it to them. Like, the reason she would do something like this, blah, blah, blah. When you say, I think she would do this to a female director, she's like, yeah, I agree, that would be, because they know what you're saying. So Bombay Begums just had just like Dahaad, most of the crew, almost 60% of the crew was women. All the HODs were women, the producers were women, the AD department was entirely women. So Bombay Begums was similar on that front. And I remember, I can't confirm this, but I remember when I got a call for Dahaad, Karan's assistant had mentioned that someone from Bombay Begums had recommended me. But I don't know, Karan also knows me, and Karan has, so I can't really confirm that bit, but yeah.
नहीं, women का ही जमाना है. अभी कान में भी it's the third time, I think, in the history that a woman has got the top prize.
Yeah. After Jane Campion, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Women का ही जमाना है.
Finally, after thousands of years,
Yes. Thankfully. So, one question I had for you, I've been watching your pictures and some photographs, reels over the years on FB. That is why I have managed to keep track of you, like your evolving personality, and you post such beautiful pictures and exquisite pictures, and if I may say, like gorgeous and glamorous pictures. So ये एकदम डी ग्लैम रोल में आपको कैसे इमेजिन किया, और ये मुझे थोड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग लगता है, मतलब बिकॉज मैं इतने सालों से देख रहा हूँ आपके, मतलब इट्स वेरी glamorous avatar on FB. So hats off to the casting directors also who could think out of the box, and I don't know.
I
Or
mean, Karan is incredible as a casting director, but it was a choice. If you just go back about 6-7 years ago, if you see my beginning IMDb credits, you will see I was constantly cast as because the way I look, my skin color, my hair, right? एटलीस्ट अब तो चीजें काफी बदल रही हैं, तब जब था आप मतलब सावली लड़की एम्पावर्ड कैसे हो सकती है? सावली लड़की एमएनसी की ओनर, किसी मल्टीनेशनल कंपनी की ओनर नहीं हो सकती, राइट? और सावली लड़की मतलब छोड़ी हुई औरत, पैटर्ड वुमन, अनलवेबल वुमन. आई वाज कॉन्स्टेंटली बीइंग कास्ट एज दैट, constantly. Like my first film Lajwanti was very sweet, very beautiful film.
well, I wanted to congratulate you for that as well. Unfortunately, I have not seen that film, but I have heard a lot about that film and a lot about Pushpendra Singh, even
Yeah.
assisted Anup Singh as well, I think. Right?
Yeah. And so Lajwanti say I had been typecast. Like casting directors, if they called me, there were only two costumes they would call me in: kurti and jeans, and cotton sari, or या synthetic या georgette sari. यही look होता था, right? And of course, I'm an actor. I can play any character that I want, and I would love to play characters that are different than me. But मुझे लगता था यार, बार बार ये रिटरेट कर रहे हैं कि सावली लड़की है, घुंघराले बाल हैं, क्योंकि स्ट्रेट बाल ब्यूटीफुल होते हैं ना, घुंघराले बालों को आप फ्रिजी एस्पेक्ट में डालते हो. सो मुझे लगता था कि ये बार बार रिटरेट हो रहा है कि मेरे जैसे दिखने वाली लड़कियां एम्पावर्ड नहीं हो सकती हैं. And then a girl sitting in 14-year-old girl sitting in Indore or Bhopal is going to think that, because I thought that, right? When I was growing up, I don't remember. I mean, by the time I was born and growing up, Smita Patil wasn't there anymore. So दूरदर्शन पे जो उनकी फिल्में आती थी वही देखा था, नहीं तो किसी भी टीवी शो में, किसी भी नई फिल्म में मेरे जैसे लोग दिखते नहीं थे मुझे, right? But I always wanted to act. I was cultural secretary in college, and I'd been a dancer growing up. So, but I don't remember seeing people that looked like me playing characters that were something that you would want to be like, right? People that looked like me played characters that you would want to save but not be like. So I wanted to stop that. So and Instagram helped me change that. I was like, okay, I will not let casting directors design my career. I will design my career.
Nice,
right? So then when I started, changing the way I look, then that's when I got something like Bombay Begums, right? Bombay Begums is a very glamorous girl, curly hair, upcoming star. And there's another show that's coming of mine. I mean, it was supposed to come in May, but let's see. Is another very glamorous upcoming star, whatever. But it was a conscious choice to change that. Now what happens is that now what they do is that, okay, savli hai, ghungrale baal hai, to lesbian bana. Still unlovable by a man. You know what I mean? Still unlovable. I mean, when Bombay Begums came out, the next 10 auditions that I got called for, I'm not exaggerating, were a lesbian character. And I was like,
nothing wrong in sorry, matlab,
no, not
there's
at all.
nothing
I
wrong
mean,
with that, but
not at all.
the typecast के against react कर रहे हैं.
No,
Lesbian
not
के
at all.
against
I mean,
नहीं.
I played an LGBTQI character. I am one of the biggest. The reason I chose that character is because I really believe that love is very personal, just like faith is, and everybody should be allowed to love whoever they want to be, and no one should get into that, right? But unlovable by a man. You see the patriarchy behind it.
Yeah.
So that. And why would you cast someone who's already played a lesbian again and again? Like it's not even exciting. That was my point. That at least थोड़ा सा imagination लाइए ना. तो ये
वो तो थोड़ा मतलब sorry to sound cynical, वो तो थोड़ा सा कमी है. इमेजिनेशन का, इसलिए जब ऐसी कोई सीरीज आती है दहाड़ जैसे, तो इट्स क्रिएट्स अ बuzz, एंड now Vijay Varma is also being talked about so much because people somehow get it कि हाँ ये कुछ उसमें इतने सारे भीड़ में से कुछ इसमें कुछ अच्छा है, कुछ
I
मेहनत
mean,
किया
some
है।
casting directors like Karan, Mukesh, they are where they are because they think out of the box.
राइट राइट
You know, they are creatively thinking out of the box. That's why you see when, Karan's castings or Mukesh's castings are like so interesting
राइट।
because, and there are a few others, but yeah.
हाँ, कास्टिंग डायरेक्टर्स को तो सोचना ही है, बट डायरेक्टर्स को भी सोचना वैसे डायरेक्टर्स भी होने चाहिए जो, जैसे ये लोग तो बहुत मतलब दे आर वेरी गुड डायरेक्टर्स, रीमा एंड
Yeah,
जोया,
yeah,
they are one of the best in Hindi film industry.
yeah,
So
of course. I mean, their
kind of
track record,
directors also you need.
yeah.
So where are you originally from?
I am originally from, मतलब ये थोड़ा सा complicated question है
अच्छा
क्योंकि
अच्छा।
मैं हूँ गोरखपुर, गोरखपुर देवरिया करके एक
ओके,
एरिया
हाँ
है।
हाँ, you told me.
पूरा मतलब लाइक पूरा इट्स लाइक द पूर्वांचल ऑफ यूपी, राइट? बट मेरी पूरी पढ़ाई लिखाई साउथ में हुई है, चेन्नई। कलाक्षेत्रा फाउंडेशन विच वाज फाउंडेड बाय द कृष्णमूर्ति, जे कृष्णमूर्ति थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी। सो वहां मैंने भरतनाट्यम सीखा बचपन में। तो वहां 10 साल की उम्र से 16 साल की उम्र तक मैं वहां पर थी। So there I was like the North Indian. Then once I had lived these formative years in South, I came to do college in Lucknow, right? And in Lucknow, I was the one, like, because I was my accent was a little bit South Indian by then, and I used to mostly speak in English. तो फिर लखनऊ से मैंने ग्रेजुएशन 11th 12th किया, फिर ग्रेजुएशन किया, और ग्रेजुएशन में मैं सेकेंड ईयर में कल्चरल सेक्रेटरी बन गई और फाइनल ईयर में प्रेसिडेंट स्टूडेंट गवर्नमेंट एसोसिएशन की। एंड आई थिंक एट दैट टाइम आई हैड दिस फीलिंग, डू आई, बिकॉज यूपी वगैरह में अगर आप स्टूडेंट पॉलिटिक्स करते हैं ना तो आपका फिर पॉलिटिकल करियर शुरू हो जाता है। But I always knew that I wanted to be in films. So I was like, okay, this is not where I want to be. And
Wonderful.
then came to Bombay. Yeah.
So you know Tamil as well.
समझ सकती हूँ पर अभी आदत चली गई है, in what 10 12 years now,
Okay, you
more than
watch
that.
any Tamil films?
I watch Tamil films, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, not so much, like I don't like those very like action movies, but like the nice ones that come out on Hotstar or something I watch.
You saw this one, Chennai Love Stories, this on Amazon. Chennai Love Stories,
The
six episodes.
Should
Please
I watch
watch
it?
the sixth episode by Kumar Raja, director of Super Deluxe. You're going to love it, I'm sure.
I will. I will.
Become
I
a
will
big
totally.
fan of his work. So one thing I forgot to ask you, how is it working with the new phenomenon Vijay Varma?
So when we got on set, we had not spent a lot of time because COVID के में हमारे सारे workshops online Zoom पे होते थे. And you know, you can do your readings and you can get the tone right and all of that on a Zoom call. But जो acting में physical भी बहुत होता है ना, like just the physical presence of this person in your personal space, वो कैसा, that didn't happen with us when we were doing workshops. So I was a bit nervous, and also because we had a couple of intimate scenes together. So I wanted to know this person. Or मेरे लिए it's part of my process to really get into the personalization of the characters between two people. So we basically met a few days before we were supposed to start shooting in Goa. So I told him that I need to spend some time with him. I need to know him. I'm going to be doing all these scenes with him, and he was busy shooting at that time. So, for him also to take out the time, but he did it. He was gracious enough to do it, and we went out on a coffee and we spent some time together talking about life, about each other, and on set, because of his character, he was much more reserved because Richard cannot be expressive. So out of set he was like fun and we would joke around and things like that, but on set, when he was in character he was more reserved. But you can see that's why actors, everybody has a different process, and that's why Vijay is what Vijay is, because he's so seamless, he's so natural. with how he changes into being an outspoken person and a reserved person. It was interesting to watch him work. So it was very,
Played a very
it's
dark.
wonderful to work with actors that are at the high point in their game, because it's like learning. It's like being in a master class. Even if it's a contemporary, even if it's an actor younger than you, it's incredible to work with people who have their craft at the highest potential, because it's just a learning experience. Because acting is like this give and take. Because they give you, you can give back. It does, acting is not a solo ride at all, and the more you work, you realize it is not a solo ride. Anyone who says they did it, that's why, when you get a best actor or a best actress, you just can't take the credit of it on your own. It's just impossible. It's not possible naturally, because from the writer to the to the director to the editor to your co-actor to everyone on the crew has made it for you to just do your bit. It's incredible.
No, he's played a very dark character. I was wondering how he did it. It's pretty dark.
Yeah.
Indian Joker. So what's next for you? What are your future projects and what are you
So I
as
have this another incredible project coming out. I mean, it was supposed to be out in May, but I think it has been pushed because the platform that was supposed to put it first is now merging with another platform. So they're waiting for that deal to finish. It's by this director and showrunner called Devanshu Singh, who made Chintu Ka Birthday, if you remember, and Chaudah Phere. एक फिल्म बनाई थी उन्होंने विक्रांत के साथ और so he's made this show, and Colosseum Films has been the producer. They made Ray, if you remember. Ray करके एक anthology series आई
I
थी,
like that. I didn't do very well, but I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that because of course Satyajit Ray का नाम है. Plus the
हाँ,
stories were
उनकी
very
कहानी है.
interesting.
Yeah.
मुझे बहुत मजा आया था वो जो I really
तो
enjoyed
वो
that.
प्रोड्यूसर्स हैं, तो उनका शो है, एंड इट इज द ओनली थिंग आई कैन गिव आउट ऑफ दैट शो इज दैट it's partially musical. It's a music based show. So I'm looking forward to it. It's like really, really nice. And I was dubbing for it a few months ago and it looks also so good. तो वो है next show. उसके बाद मैंने अभी एक Spanish project किया है.
You keep scuttling, no? Shuttling between
Yeah, so
Bombay and
we were actually talking about that. So I have a acting agent in Spain. I speak
really.
Spanish. I've worked in Spanish films in the last 5 years. और बर्लिनाले में जब लजवंती प्रीमियर हुई थी, उसके बाद जब मैंने बर्लिनाले टैलेंट में जब मैं सेलेक्ट हुई थी, तो आई एंडेड अप मीटिंग अ लॉट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स फ्रॉम यूरोप, यंग फिल्म मेकर्स,
Right.
film creators. So I slowly started forming a community outside of India. और मुझे अभी भी अब तो थोड़ा कम लग रहा है, पर जब से मैंने अपना started being a professional actor, I realized that Indian filmmakers don't know what to do with my face. They don't know what to do with someone like me. But I feel like Indian filmmakers को समझ में नहीं आता है क्या करें मेरे चेहरे के साथ, राइट? क्योंकि चेहरे उनके हिसाब से आई शुड बी अ रूरल वुमन और अ वुमन हु इज लाइक सबमिसिव और क्वाइट और पर मेरी आवाज द मोमेंट आई स्टार्ट स्पीकिंग कम्स अक्रॉस इंटेलिजेंट है, ये है वो है. और तो आई फील लाइक, एंड आई रिमेम्बर वॉचिंग एन इंटरव्यू ऑफ जेसिका चास्टेन एंड शी सेड कि इनिशियली उनके साथ भी यही हुआ था कि उनको दे डिडंट नो व्हाट टू डू विद हर फेस, वेयर टू पुट हर. पर वो चीजें थोड़ी थोड़ी बदल रही हैं, क्योंकि अब जैसे जैसे रियलिस्टिक दिखने वाले लोग चाहिए उनको, जैसे हमारे नेबर होते हैं, आई टोटली लुक वेरी इंडियन, right? I can be someone's neighbor, I can be an orphan. So I feel things are changing, but uske baad, because I wanted to act, I felt so frustrated. I said, okay, maybe if I try outside of India, because when non-Indians look for Indians to cast, they look for someone like me. They wouldn't look for someone like Katrina Kaif, for that matter, because that's not, I mean, I really think Katrina is a very hardworking person, but Katrina cannot be the next door neighbor in Bhopal or Indore. There are some faces and some people that will only if you go by real casting.
But
right?
you have a
So
very exotic look. I don't know if that word is good or bad, but according to me, you have a very exotic look as well. That was an aside. But what you're saying is why get stuck to Indian? What I am also saying, why get stuck to Indian films only? Now for the artist, the whole world is the.
yeah, I mean, I do believe that I felt like if they were thinking of casting someone as an Indian or a Pakistani, they would look for someone like me, right? Because 98% of Indians look like you and me, right? And so wo cheez, and that was good because I also like European films a lot. I like working in films that are very story driven, and the more realistic you can show, almost documentary like, right? Like you feel like I'd never traveled to Paris, I'd only seen French films, and then when I went to Paris, like, oh, this is how, I mean, it almost feels familiar, right? But hamari Indian films mein, I have met people who have asked me that if I've never been to India, but if I go to India, will people start flash dancing? And I'm like, no, that doesn't happen. Unless it's a Ganpati, people are not flash dancing. So it's not like you land at the station and people like just huddle together and start dancing. That doesn't happen. But so our films also give out, but that's a genre of, it's a Bollywood genre, right? Where we dance and sing. But
Popular
yeah,
genre.
yeah. And also as an actor, you're the original mercenary, right? You go where the job takes you, and stories are being told everywhere. And now because of Netflix and Amazon, the more universal you can make a story, the better. So yeah.
नहीं अभी तो नेटफ्लिक्स पे सब इंडियन दिखने वाले जैसे आप बोल रहे हैं सब लोग दे आर द मेन स्टार्स ऑफ सम ऑफ द
Yeah,
शो
yeah.
आई
I mean,
फील
I'm
इट्स
so
द
thankful for Netflix and Amazon. I mean, I remember Arjun Mathur, the actor. I'd seen him in Luck by Chance, and then I had not seen him for so long. And then comes Made in Heaven. So
या
actors like Arjun and actors like Vijay and Gulshan Devaiah, it's not like he's a good actor today. He's always been a good actor. It's just that there is more today, more space for actors that are good and that are realistic looking, that are actors that can play characters, not play certain formula.
बट आई रियली होप इसमें एक ये होता है कि फिर देन द सेम एक्टर्स गेट गेटिंग रिपीटेड इन द शोज आल्सो नए लोगों को
Yeah.
हमेशा चांस मिलते रहना चाहिए तभी
Yes.
वो फ्रेशनेस रहेगा वरना फिर हर एक शो में आपको फिर सेम आर्टिस्ट दिखेंगे वो भी एक प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है
I mean, वो प्रॉब्लम इसलिए भी हो सकता है क्योंकि आई थिंक वो स्ट्रक्चरल प्रॉब्लम है इंडिया में हमेशा से यू वांट टू वर्क विद योर ओन फैमिली यू वांट टू वर्क विद योर ओन ग्रुप which is nice also because shooting is and directing a film and making a film is such a hectic job that you want to work with people whose temperament right? Makes sense. But I also believe that it's much easier to keep है थोड़ा बहुत tribalism है हमारी industry में, and that's why we can go to the big N word and things like that, the nepo word and all of that. But it is always nice to bring in different kinds of people in your stories because then you will end up telling different kinds of stories, and that's always interesting to watch.
हाँ अगर बहुत सारे कैरेक्टर हो देन यू कैन ऑलवेज नॉट गो फॉर द ट्राइड एंड टेस्टेड तो आपके कंफर्ट के लिए तो आप लेंगे ही बट बाकी लोगों को भी आई थिंक चांस मिलेगा
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल yeah.
तो मेरे कुछ अगर आपको कुछ कहना हो और कुछ छूट गया हो दहाड़ के बारे में या जनरली तो आप यू कैन
I
से
mean, I feel that I am, I know everybody's like sort of a little bit worried about, oh, how AI is going to change things and chat GPT and things like that. But I feel in the end, stories come from human emotions. And human emotions, the poets have tried it, the spiritual philosophers have tried it. You can never really encapsulate human emotions in an algorithm, right? And our stories come from suffering. Only when you've suffered through a heartbreak can you write a love story, right? Only when you've suffered the loss of someone can you write a character that's an orphan, and you know how that feels. So I feel like it's an exciting time to be a storyteller and to be part of the films. It is very difficult to be an actor. The amount of rejections that one faces, but it's also almost an addiction. You just keep going at it, even though like I remember before Bombay Begums, I told myself, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit. I don't want to do this anymore. And I remember 2 days later, I got the audition for Bombay Begums. I gave the audition thinking I'm just going to do and go and perform. And I know I'm not going to get it. So whatever. And the next day, Shruti called me and said, you have just saved me, because she had been looking for this character for so long, and she finally, the director said, okay, this is what I was looking for. And I remember before Dahaad, COVID had happened. It was so distraught what was happening with COVID first, first and second wave. We were shooting around that time. And I was like, what's the point? Depressive tha thoda sa Dahaad se pehle, the whole situation was with the migrant workers walking. It was very confusing. So every 2 years, there's this phase where I'm like, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this. It's so difficult, and then, as an actor, you feel like I'm getting older. What's happening? And then there are days when you look at your contemporaries and like, she's doing such incredible work. Why am I not getting to do that? So an artist's life, I mean, the best thing about being an artist is, in the end of your journey as a human being, you will feel that you've lived it, because you live every emotion. You live the dark days and all of that. It's not like a 9 to 5 job where you're automatically living your life. So of course it's a very fulfilling human experience, but it's so stressful. So stressful. Even on set, being on set is so stressful, because then in the end you're like, the light is running and this is happening and that is happening. And most of the times we end up shooting in places which are difficult to reach, because you want less sound, noise. So, you find the, Mahabaleshwar के आगे जाकर जहाँ बस भी नहीं जा पा रही है, जहाँ पे वैन भी नहीं जा पा रही है, हम generally ऐसी जगहों पे shoot करते हैं. Out of love, I remember we were shooting like this. So it's so, like, people think filmmaking is glamour and all of that. That's the 5% part of filmmaking, promotions and glamour. But before that, I feel it's such a difficult job. So, I just want to tell people who are probably going to listen to this is that it's amazing to be an actor and a storyteller, but it's difficult. It's difficult. But when it happens, it's also glorious, and it's almost a high. So it's addictive. Yeah.
So
And it makes you
hopefully,
feel like a human being. It gets you closer to being a human being.
and hopefully it's all worth it.
Absolutely. I hope so. Yeah. Lovely
Thank you.
talking to you, Kabir.
Yes, yes. I'm also very happy to talk to you and see you after so long. And thank you so much
Yeah.
for your time and for this lovely
Thank
interview.
you. So if you like this interview and all the other amazing interviews by Kabir, please like, subscribe, and share this interview, and follow and subscribe to Cinema Satsang.